Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
I've got a lot of grandbabies, like a lot. And when it comes to finding a gift for each of them, it could add up. But this year, while I was making my way through Walmart, I realized I don't have to spend a lot to get the gifts they'll love.
An OPI mini mani set. I'm going to do so much nail art. Oh, yeah! A Lego set. Might own a Walla water bottle.
Ooh, and that's just half of them.
Shop great gifts they're sure to love for $25 and under at Walmart.
Did you know Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company? They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just quarterback Peyton Manning, I'm also meditating Manning. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. We are dual casting with ZPG Ice Maidens, and we are in partnership with the Hockey Art Co, hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to the ZPG network can get a 10% discount off of everything site-wide at hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10. We're also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand, with top-of-the-range products like the lawnmower, the weed whacker, the beard shaver, and the Dome Shaver Pro. You can get 20% off of everything from manscaped.com when you use the code ZeroPucks20. And Zero Pucks Given and the ZPG Ice Maidens are both part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, the largest sport podcast network in Europe, boasting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports. Well, welcome along to what is episode 136 and also episode 20 with me, Ben from Zero Pucks Given, and him,
Adam Matman from ZPG Ice Maidens.
There we go, mate. Well, episode 19 for you, episode 135, I think, for me, or maybe even 136, can't quite remember now. But we're dual casting, we're making history in UK podcasts. Like I said, you've been on board doing this for sort of 19 episodes now. Every single one of them has been absolutely brilliant. Love listening to them when they come out. And we're going to be joined by a hell of a guest today, aren't we?
We are indeed, yeah. Italian-born full defender, even, Anna Beltrami from Invicta Dynamics. So that's going to be an interesting one, I think.
Yeah, do you think she actually plays a little bit more two-way now that she's playing here, a little bit further forward? Yeah,
possibly. I think, she has played centre. I don't think she particularly likes playing centre, but I think we might hear a little bit more of that in the show coming up, perhaps. Yeah,
I reckon we will. Well, just to pre-warn you, we do go on for quite a little bit, so without any further ado, we'll get straight to it. So we're dual casting, Zero Pucks Given, ZPG Ice Maidens, myself, Ben Hyde, Adam Mackman, who you can see there if you're joining us on YouTube, and we are absolutely delighted to be joined by Anna Beltrami. How you doing this evening?
I am great. How are you both, sir?
Wonderful. Living the dream. Adam, how you doing?
Great. Thank you. I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm really great. We've obviously, people that have been following along with the podcast will know that ZPG Ice Maidens come and join the network towards the end of last season, and it's getting info out there about the women's hockey. What Adam was doing with Ice Maidens previously, and he's still doing now, live streaming, commentary, the website, all the details and the stats is absolutely fabulous. And I'm buzzing all the work he puts in every week for ZPG Ice Maidens. And being a fan of both, Anna Beltrami. What a guest to have. How you going? How's Invicta Dynamics treating you at the moment?
It's fantastic. We're having our first season in a while back in the league, because for a few years we've been in development, and this year we're in the WNHL 2B South. It's a long league name.
It is. Yeah.
But we're doing pretty well. We've won 3 games so far in Liga, and we've lost 1. But the one that we lost, we went to Coventry, so it's already like the other side of the country for me. And we were short benched, like ridiculously short benched. We were 9 players, I think. So we didn't even have 2 full lines. We were rotating 3Ds at one point. I had to play center. So that was a very complicated game because I'm not very good at face-offs. So playing center was interesting. But no, so that was the only league game that we lost. So then we had a couple more games, part of the cup, because if you don't know, this year for WNHL 2 South, we have also a cup, which is really fun, and we play teams from both the A and the B side of the league. So those ones were like a little bit tougher for us. Yeah, exactly, because we played we played Streatham, and then we played Slough as well, which are both in the A part of the league, and both of them are extreme, very, very talented teams. Teams, and also very established in the league. I feel like both of them have been in it for quite a while. So it was a challenge, but it was really fun. I feel like we grew a lot from both of those games, and I think that we have in our team, it's really cool because we have a mix of like veteran players that have played for quite a while, like Tammy, like Robin, like they're super talented, and they also have a great attitude, and they're trying to teach us some of that attitude. And then we have some players that are obviously very young, like 14 and 15 and 16 years old. And I think that for them especially, it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to play with the experienced players like that, because they're able to, like, how do I say, learn from them, and like learn especially about how to keep your mind clear when you're playing, because to do the jump from development to league, it's a really big jump. Like to play last year, I played a few games in the Dev Cup, which was really fun. It was really, really good for me, especially because like I've come back last year after a 12-year break, which was insane. So it was good for me, like a nice, easy start in. But I think that for a lot of people, the jump was a little surprising at first, but now everyone's like really getting into it and getting more used to it. And you should see, like at practice, the difference between like when I joined last February and now. Some of these players have improved like massively. So it's been a fantastic season so far. And sorry, your original question was, how are the Dynamics treating you? So besides, now they've invented that I'm actually French instead of Italian. Besides this little part, which is inexcusable.
It is, yeah.
So no, it's been fantastic because and I'm already getting into it. But one of the reasons why I stepped away from hockey 12 years ago was because it got way too intense psychologically. And the teams that I was in, like, it was great, but I kind of missed a support network like the one that I have now with the Dynamics. And it's a good team because, like, everyone there is passionate. Everyone there is just coming to practice, like, ready to learn. And my favorite thing, like, above everything, is that when you make a mistake, it's just people laugh with you and no one is screaming at you, which is great because I've been screamed at many, many, many times. So it's a good environment, I think, to kind of get rid of those perfectionistic tendencies and those I don't even know how to explain this, but there is some research that I was reading about how girls learn coding, because my Clark Kent persona, I'm a software engineer, so I'm programming and I love teaching people also how to program. And I was reading that apparently there's a great issue, because when girls are learning how to program, they're so afraid of making mistakes that sometimes instead of submitting an assignment that is maybe like half done and doesn't work, they would submit just an empty page rather than just showing the mistakes. So, and I also spoke to a friend of mine, and she's a teacher. She was saying that sometimes like she notices some of these things. So making mistakes and doing that part of the risk is so hard. But I feel like in an environment where if you're making a mistake, it's not a huge deal. Like people are kind of laughing at you. You're laughing at yourself. Yeah, so it's much more encouraging. And for me, that is something that I really suffered with throughout my entire career, trying to like being so terrified about doing anything wrong that sometimes you don't even do like a quarter of what you could do because you don't want to do anything wrong. So it really, really, really helped. No, I'm just thinking about one of the things that I did recently that was quite funny is one of our coaches was talking, and I was like coming back after a drill, and I say, oh, well, I'm going to sprint and I'm going to spray him. And I was trying to spray them. And instead, obviously, I fell on the floor. Well, not on the floor, I fell on the ice. And I got my knee, but at the same time, my shin pad moved. So I hurt my knee so bad. But what hurt the most was just the embarrassment of being like, yeah, I'm going to go there, I'm going to spray him, it's going to be so good. And then I'm on the floor. So, yeah, it's fun.
I'm not too sure how the more experienced members of the Dynamics will react to you calling them veterans.
Please cut out. No, but because it's in a respectful way, because they have like so many games played.
Experience.
Yeah, experience. Yeah, not veterans. No, sorry, I meant in like I'm gonna pull
on that, sorry.
I'm gonna pull that I'm foreigner card. Please forgive me. I didn't want to call them old, but they have like so much experience in games. They've played like 1,000 league games. One of them has, almost 300 games with the Dynamics alone, which is incredible. So that's what I meant. Sorry, guys, please don't kill me.
And there's the thought that was mentioned pre-recorded. I mean, you say you had a 12-year gap. So, I mean, your career path obviously takes you from Italy over to America.
To Canada.
Sorry, a big.
Yeah.
God, the North Americans are going to hate me for that. So, as you say, that sort of psychological pressure, was it college hockey that did that to you?
It was, instead of college, it was like a high school that I went to that just took hockey like super seriously, which was great for me. And that was like my dream, to be able to play hockey at that level, because I went there when I was 15 and I was playing AA, like in the South Saskatchewan Hockey League, which was great. And at first, though, what really got me is like I was really disappointed that I didn't make the AAA team. But then, like now in hindsight, I look back at that year that I didn't make the AAA team, and that team won the SO Cup, and I'm like, Anna, you should have just relaxed about it a lot more than you did. But I was like, I'm going all that way, and then I didn't make the best of the best, and I'm, not just in the AA team, but I was kind of dusting quite a lot as well. So that was, it got to me at the time, because being, 14, 15, like away from home, and like so far, like my family was on the other side of the world, and I was there. I barely spoke any English. So I think that that prevented me, I think, from having the clear mind that I should have, to just be like, it's just a setback. Like you can continue, you can try again next year, or, you can still play AA, play your best, and have a positive attitude no matter what. So I think that season was really, like, I struggled, although, like, I liked the team. It was great. Like, I bonded so many, with those girls. We also lived together at the same time, because the school, it was really fun. The school still is, like, you have dorms and then you have an ice rink literally next to the science lab. And sometimes instead of going to PE, you go and practice, which is mad. So it was an amazing opportunity. And I feel like by not, I think, having the right mindset at the time, I didn't use to the top of my ability. So when I did quit hockey, like I stayed at the school until I graduated and then I came over here to the UK for university. But when I quit hockey, it was a very radical decision for me because I had, up until that point, I had identified myself as a hockey player in every area of my life. Like my identity was hockey. So when I was like, no, this is too painful. Like I can't do it. It's just too much for my head right now. And I quit that. I was really struggling for a long time because I absolutely didn't know who I was at all. So it was that. Also, something that added to this, I think, psychological pressure is the fact that before I went to Canada, I had like a pretty bad, well, it wasn't quite an injury, more like an illness. So when I went, I wasn't like normal. Like I didn't play a season in a way that I could play the year before. So just because I think it's like helpful for context. When I was 14, so in 2010, and I was playing in Italy before I went over there, it was a really great season. I was playing with a Serie A team that now it's called the Lakers. It's in the IHL now, I think it's called. But I was 14, so I was pretty young, playing defense, really getting, like, they were taking it very seriously, which is great. At the time for me, it was great to develop like a very competitive mindset. But it was already pretty stressful. And then one game, my rival, my biggest rival of all time, at the time, she checked me. It was also checking league. So I think that was actually great. I feel like, that's my opinion, by the way. I feel like at elite level, women's hockey should be, like, checking should be allowed. Mm-hmm. So, because it was great. So she checked me. I wasn't very happy about it, but what happened is I fell and I kind of hit my head. And I was freaking out because I said, that's so embarrassing. I can't believe I let her check me. It's my rival, blah, blah, blah. But then at every game in that league, they had ambulance with paramedics. So they came to check on me, and I don't know what they saw, but they're like, we're going to take you away, which I was also a bit confused about. But thank God that happened, and thank God for that girl that checked me, because if she didn't do that, they wouldn't have brought me to the hospital. They wouldn't have done an MRI scan, and they wouldn't have found that I had a brain tumor the size of my fist in the back of my head. And I had that for years. And that was just, well, it's crazy now to talk about it. But at the time, it was even crazier because I was 14 and I was just like, I'm fine. I feel completely fine. I had no major symptoms or nothing strange. And then all of a sudden, like, my entire world was like doing backflips thanks to, hockey saved my life at the time, because if I didn't play hockey, I would have never, ever, they would have never found it. Mm-hmm. So after that, they found it. They're like, we got to get rid of this ASAP. Obviously, the doctor didn't say it that way. They said it in a medical way. Yeah. But the doctor was definitely, let's get rid of this ASAP. But like 2 days later, I had surgery. They removed the entire thing. I didn't have to have any further chemo or radiotherapy, thank God. But then the time after, obviously, your brain is moving in your head because there was an object that was in it that was taking up mass. So I remember there was one big issue that I had that I still have, which is with my field of vision. I'm not going to say what it is, because if anyone else in the WNIHL is listening to this, I'm not going to let them know where a little bit of a blind spot I have.
Good thinking, yeah.
Yeah, girls, you're not finding out. Also because I play defense, and I'm not going to say exactly where, but I have a little bit of a field of vision defect. And that affected me a lot at the beginning without realizing, because I just thought it was my new normal. So there was that. Then there was a lot of obviously like psychological issues after something like that, because at the beginning when that happened, all I was thinking was like, when can I go back on the ice? My coach at the time came to visit me at the hospital, and I was basically like half dead because I had some complications after surgery. And I was telling him, I was like, I'm sorry, I'll be back next week, I promise. And he said, I don't think you're going to be back next week. So that whole thing happened in January 2010. And then it took me obviously a few months to recover, and like I had to have occupational therapy to be able to walk. And then March, April, I went trying to skate because I just couldn't be away from hockey. I'm like, I have to do it. And then after that, a friend of mine that was already going to the school in Canada said, this is a school. You should come here. It's a good school. You get to play hockey. It's basically Hogwarts, but for hockey. And I say, heck yeah. So that's when I went. But obviously moving across the world at 14 without speaking English, like I knew some English, right? But not enough to have a conversation, basically. and yeah, basically I was still recovering from this whole adventure. It was, I think, a bit too much for me at the time. So sometimes I blame myself. I'm like, God, you're so stupid. Like, if you didn't stop playing hockey, if you continued, like maybe now, who knows, you'd be in the Italian national team. You'd be going to the Olympics in 2026 because they have automatic qualification. And now I'm like, well, there's also the fact that I probably couldn't have continued to play a good career anyways if I didn't stop. Just because I think taking a break from hockey, like it was very painful, and I still wish I didn't do it. But at the same time, I think at the time I did the best I could. And this is something that I've only been able to process recently. Sorry, by the way, but this has turned into like a therapy session. I just wanted to give the context, because even though I think I could have been able to probably handle the pressure of North American hockey if I was maybe a little bit older, or I didn't have something like that happening, but it was still very intense. Yeah.
Now you're from Trento in Italy. I've been there in the middle of the Dolomites. It's beautiful, picturesque. It's a fantastic part of Italy. Very different to Canada though. So how did you find them changes? Because culturally, Canada and Italy are massively different. Two great countries. I love them both equally and for different reasons, but it must have been a huge culture shock. And like you say, not being particularly fluent in English at the time.
I think the culture shock was insane, because if you said, you know how it looks like in Trento, you've got mountains, and I traveled before, so I knew that there was places without mountains and there were places that were flat. But when I arrived in Saskatchewan, which is where I live, I remember so clearly, I got at the airport and I looked outside and it was so flat, like just a line. It's a line in the horizon. And I couldn't understand what was happening, because even though, as I said, I've seen places that didn't have mountains, that was just insane to me. I felt like immediately, the feeling of your ground just getting pulled from under your feet. I felt that. That's the best way I can describe it. And then obviously there was the barrier with English. In my first math class, I was like crying because I don't understand anything that's going on. How am I supposed to go to school here? But unfortunately, when you're that young, you're getting exposed to language a lot easier. So like after a few months, I was able to learn English to a degree that now I think sometimes I still make some mistakes. And obviously I have an accent, but at the beginning, the culture shock really got me. Also because, culturally, the biggest thing for me, weirdly, is the fact that in Italy, hockey is quite niche. I'd say even here in the UK, it's like kind of a niche interest. Mm-hmm. So you go from like having your niche interest that is very precious to your heart, that is part of your identity, that defines you, to a place where hockey is not it's a religion. Like everyone knows what hockey is, which wasn't the case back home. but not just that, people follow it, people obviously know more than you. So it was really strange that as well, because the stakes were higher automatically and everyone was aware of everything that I was doing when it came to the ice. And in terms of the hockey style as well, in Italy, we didn't really have many systems and stuff. It was more like, you know, let's play with this basic setup. Very, like, still good. It was like effective. It was competitive. But when I arrived there, they were like making us study. And I said, what on earth is this? It was fascinating from that point of view, but it also, everything was different. So, yeah, it was a big, big culture shock.
I've got a friend from Saskatchewan, and his English is actually better than mine.
Oh my God. Where in Saskatchewan is he from? Saskatoon. Yeah. Nice. That's the bit where they've got some hills, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit further north, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was down an hour south of Regina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's flat prairie land, that then. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I've been to Winnipeg, and that's exactly the same.
Yeah. And
coldest place on earth as well.
I was about to say, that's the bit that I forgot about the culture shock. The first Saskatchewan winter, I didn't have any gloves with me. It was nuts, because it gets to minus 30 degrees. So you are cold, obviously. Every cell of your body is cold. But then, you know, like your eyes have a wet part of them? That felt like it was freezing over.
They probably were.
Yes.
To be honest, yeah.
I didn't think it was possible. So it was, very intense. But I will tell you something, folks. Here in the UK, sometimes I feel the cold more than I did in Saskatchewan, because here it's so humid that it just gets into your bones.
Yeah.
It's cold.
I'm about to explain that to my wife, because she's not good with the cold, and I'd love to take her to Toronto, but because it's my favourite city on earth. But I could. I'm not going in the summer. I'm not going when it's not hockey season. It's just the point.
I mean, you got baseball, you got the Blue Jays there, but
I've got
not the same, is it?
Yeah, but no, it's not the same. But I've said to her, like, when I was there, it was February, and it's like minus 25.
Yeah.
You can walk around outside, and it's not. It doesn't. But if it was minus 25 in the UK, you wouldn't be able to
No, that's right.
No. I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to think about that.
But places like Winnipeg and Minnesota as well, where it gets very cold, they've got these skywalks. So they've got these tower blocks where you can walk through a tunnel from building to building without actually being outside. So I think there's probably, if you know the right places, you can avoid being out. But first night when I was in Winnipeg, that was a shock. That was about minus 28, and it was late February, early March, and the river's frozen. There's ducks walking on the ice, not like swimming, just literally walking on it. It's a huge shock when you first get there. Nothing prepares you for it.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
You guys could go down and play on the Medway if it was that cold here, I suppose, couldn't you?
Winter Classic, there you go.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be,
What's the, would you say with the Dynamics, who's your rival? Who's the rival team for the Dynamics?
Ooh. This is a hard question, because we've had some really fun, like very fun and constructive and learning matches with the Lee Valley Vampires, because it's their first year. Well, I wouldn't think we're rivals, because it felt like a very friendly competition. But I liked that. I love those two games that we just played with them. They were really sweet. We tried to play as clean as we could. I would say for me, it would be Stratham. It would be Stratham. Yeah. They beat us pretty bad when we had the cup game, 8-2. But I think what that has done is just ignited a fire that I am counting the days until we see them again in April for the second cup match. Yeah. Because it's not going to happen. It was a very very strong game. Let's say that in terms of physicality. It's a very physical game. And usually I'm a very physical player, so I don't mind, and I find myself very, very comfortable in those situations. But even then I was like, oh, they're not here, you know, to joke around. This is going to be a tough game. But it was great. Like, I loved that. I was happy with how we played, even though we did get the 8-2. But, yeah, I think it's going to be really fun.
We're a team from a league above, obviously. We've got a lot of experience. We've got some strong players who, it's quite a multicultural team. There's a lot of North Americans in there, like the Canadians. There's players who are Hong Kong internationals as well. So it's a high standard that you're playing against, really, isn't it? Yeah, no, that's it. They were very good, and you could see that in the way they play as well. They're excellent at, you know, the things that we are still not learning, but we're still perfecting in the way that we play. Like, they've played together for years at this level, so they break out so easily. We played almost the entire game in our end. Like, we were in our end quite a bit. But they were, every time we bring the puck to them, they'll be like, oh, okay, here you go. So that I think made a big difference. But I think you're able to do that when you're a team that has played together for a while. And, you know, for us, for many of us, it is, well, this is actually the first year that I play with this exact group of people, because some of the players that we had last year in Dev, we are in the league team, but some of the newer players are actually not new players, are returning players from the older league days. So it's still like something that we're still learning. But I feel like, honestly, with the fact that we haven't been able to play together as this exact team for more than, like, you know, a few months, like, we already are starting to get to know each other quite well. So I think that's great. That's like, it has surpassed my expectations for how the season was going to go so far. Definitely. Yeah, that's good to hear.
Did you came here for uni, and all this time you was kind of having a break from hockey? How did you find the dynamics then, or did they find you?
No, I found them. I like this story. This is a sweet story. So, in my break from hockey, it was like a bad breakup. I had basically I didn't watch a game in 12 years. I went skating like twice, and once was when I was drunk in Canary Wharf, so that doesn't really count. and yeah, it was like a clean break. I even like muted quite a few friends that I had on Facebook back from my hockey days, because I didn't want to see their posts and I didn't want to see anything about it, just because I think I wasn't in a good place yet to be coming back to it. So now, obviously, like a bit older than I was when I stopped, feeling like a little better. So my friend, like my best friend of all time, she said to me, oh, like, let's go with our boyfriends and let's go watch a game in Gillingham. It's going to be funny because both our boyfriends are from Gillingham. So we said, oh, it's just going to be a laugh. And I was a bit hesitant because I said, I don't know how I'm going to feel like coming back. Like, seeing a game in 12 years, it's something that, yes, gave me so much joy and like saved my life, but also really like, you know, made me suffer as well psychologically for so many years. I said, like, let's see how it's going to be. And we went to see the Dynamos against Oxford, which was really funny because Peter Cech was in goal that day. My boyfriend, massive Chelsea fan. So he said, that's so funny. He's got the same name as the Chelsea goalie. And then he realized, oh my God, it's him.
It is the Chelsea goalie.
It was awesome just for that. But then, like, when I went there, I remember, like, watching the puck drop. You know when you feel it in your knees, like in your legs, like, skate. You know, that feeling where you're waiting for the puck to drop and you're ready to skate. And I felt that and I say, there we go. There we go. And then I went to get hot chocolate, and on the way to get the hot chocolate, there was a Dynamics poster saying, like, oh, only team in Kent, join us, all levels. So I sent him a message on Instagram, and I was like, would you guys take me? And they said, yes, absolutely, we'll look. And I said, I have absolutely no kit, because another thing I did is, like, when I may have had a break from hockey, I threw away everything, which my parents were not very happy about.
Not surprised.
And also my paychecks this year have also not been very happy about that. So I said, I don't have anything. I don't even have skates. They say, no, it's okay. We'll lend you everything. And then you can get stuff if you want. And the first 2 sessions are free. So, actually, I even watched, before I went to the first training, I even watched one of the podcast episodes where they came as well. And I said, they seem like nice people. Let's see. And then I arrived and they were just so sweet and so welcoming. And I was so anxious before the first training that I was trying to occupy myself, like stretching in the corner. And everyone's like, it's okay. Like, you're going to be fine. And yeah, the moment that then I stepped on the ice, I was like, okay, like, it's like, I'm going to do this again. And yeah, it's just been fantastic. And this was back February 9th, I think, was my first practice.
Wow.
So yeah. And it's been great as well, because in the meantime, like, my goal has been since then to, okay, like, I would like to go back and play how I used to play. Obviously, I am, how many years now? Like, many years older. I'm 29 now. When I stopped playing, I was like 16. So there's that. But additionally, I think if you look on Elite Prospects, it just says my weight of when I was 14. So I'm not 67 kilos anymore. Let's just put it there. I've got a lot more muscle because I train a lot. But I'm definitely not 67 kilos. So that is obviously a difference. So beyond the years of, you're not about to reach your prime athletically anymore, and the extra weight. There's also the fact that I had forgotten a lot of things. Like, some was instinctual, but some bad habits were also instinctual. So the first thing that I did this few months was like, okay, let's correct the bad habits that I used to have, because I was still aware of them. And I did that. And now I'm just trying to, like, take it one step at a time, take it slowly, work on my skating, work on my shooting. My coaches will tell you that's something I have to do. So I'm taking it like as a project as well, but there's no stress and there's no expectations, I think, on it from me right now. It's just about having fun, get as good as I can get, and don't let any limitations affect me, because even though, yes, like, I've got a bit more weight on me and I am older, I don't really want to feel limited by that. I don't want to think that, I'm never going to be as good as I used to be, or better even, because like, that could still happen. And I firmly believe that can still happen. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm playing as a project now, taking it slowly. The thing that I'm struggling with a lot right now, once again, other teams, you can skip this. Besides face-offs, I'm still struggling to keep my head really clear when I go into a game, because I never had any type of psychological, like, hockey psychology training growing up. It was more like various degrees of Italian shouting, sometimes German shouting, and get on with it kind of thing.
That's quite perfect, because hockey gloves are actually kind of formed like that.
Yes. I never thought about that. It's just the shape, isn't it? So yeah, there was a lot of that. And I never had like any type of, now there's a lot of people that are teaching kids and teenagers, like, when you should visualize, you should do this, you should do that. And I just never had any of that. So that's something I'm trying to teach myself, that it's really tough, because, like, when I step on the ice, I tend to be hypercritical of everything I do. But one thing I definitely don't want to do is, because we do have these very young players in my team, like, I don't want them to start thinking that everything they do has to be broken down to the smallest bits, and you have to analyze and be mean about it and say, oh my God, I'm so terrible, I can't shoot, I can't do this, I can't do that. So it's hard for me to reconcile what I feel internally, which is this level of hyper criticism with what, I want to influence other people around me. So yeah, that's it. I even forgot what was the original question. I'm so sorry. I started yapping. I didn't shut up.
There's something I wanted to touch on, actually, which Adam is probably just as well placed from a different perspective to answer as yourself. You said whether the Streatham game was quite physical, and see, in the UK game, the women don't check. It's, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some officials that if the game is physical, they'll let things slide. Do you, as a player, and do you, Adam, as a spectator, see that?
Well, that's a good timing of a question, because I was down in Streatham on Sunday with the Whitley Bay Beacons. It was a one-man system. I think there was meant to be two officials. One, for whatever reason, didn't make it, so it was just a one guy on his own. I actually thought he made virtually all the calls spot on, which is difficult when you've got to check for icings, offsides, stuff going on the puck, off the puck. There was one incident where our captain, Abby Coulshaw, got brought down. It was purely accidental, but ultimately she was brought down. So a penalty was given. I think what they said on the ice was to calm things down, because obviously it was quite intense having seen your captain go down from the Beacons' point of view. Streatham felt they'd done nothing wrong, which really they hadn't. There was no intention there, but ultimately a player had been tripped. So I suppose in some ways a 2-minute penalty was correct, but off the back of that, Whitley then had a 5-on-3 power play, scored what was the winning goal. So perhaps Streatham weren't too happy about it in the end, but it's, I think really, given the circumstances, he did a good job. So it is difficult, I think, for officials to deal with that, particularly when it is just the one person. So yeah, it's quite a well-timed question, that, Ben.
Mm. From a player's point of view, like you say, if the game is getting a bit physical, do you feel that they've got control and they will let certain things go? Do you think that there's enough experienced girls now that they can have that physicality without going over the line?
It's a good question. It's a good question, because I felt that, for me at least, from my point of view, me being quite physical, sometimes I think I can get away with stuff that I don't get away with. And that's okay, because I shouldn't get away with this stuff. So I feel like in the league, at least so far, every call has been pretty sensible. Like I was clearly hooking someone at one point and I got sent off. And obviously I have to make like, oh, but I wasn't doing that. But then I knew very well that I did in fact do that. So I think it's good, because, I mean, so far what we've experienced has been like pretty fair in terms of calls and in terms of how it's been handled. As you may know, there was a particular game that we played recently where there was a fight in the WNIHL. I don't know if you'd heard about that.
I've heard about it, yeah. I
think there, seeing the footage, I was like, I don't think I don't think our players should have gotten the game ban because it wasn't the instigator, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I can imagine from the ref's point of view, like everything is happening in front of your eyes. Like you want to discourage this behavior at all times. So I feel like that's fair, because while like, yes, checking is one thing, but the reason why we could check safely and it was fine for us to check safely is because we've been taught how to check and how to get checked. And that is something that I don't think, well, maybe, the younger players that we have that play also with the juniors, with the Invicta juniors, as far as I know, they're getting taught how to get checked and how to check. But people that arrive from university hockey, they don't get taught that most of the times. So it is like, I feel like there's an element of a bit of actual danger that if the ref lets things slide, then some stuff that people shouldn't get away with, like it.
Yeah.
It's like a safeguarding measure as well. So while at first I was really like, I was used to that and I was like, oh my God, this is so annoying, blah, blah, blah. Then after a while I was like, actually, like it makes sense because, there's a reason for that. I really struggle a lot more in dev with this because sometimes, well, I feel like the reffing in Dev has to be different because you have some players that have been skating maybe for a while and are playing down for one reason or the other, and some that are just learning how to skate. So if I am skating past someone and they hit me and I stay on my feet and they fall down, it sometimes looks like I've done more. Like some of the calls like last year that I received quite a few penalties wasn't because of something I did on purpose, but it was more like someone got caught in like a move that looked like a trip or looked like some type of interference. So I was struggling with that because I said, like, obviously I'm not going to throw myself on the floor to make it look like it was an accident. Sometimes it just happens this way. But I think this year, because it's more equal in terms of the intensity and like even the abilities, and I think these like the calls have been pretty fair. I forgot the original question. I'm really sorry.
But it was about the physicality and then letting it go, and obviously, like you say, you don't want it to overspill. And by the sounds of it, I mean, you've turned up into Dev and thought you could thrash around like a mosh pit sleep token.
I tell you what, hockey is the best sport you can do if you want to go to metal and heavy music gigs, because I was solid yesterday. People were trying to mosh me out of the front row, and I'm like, I'm not moving from here. My center of gravity is low. I am tense. You're not moving me from this spot.
You can just throw off the odd hip check, can't you, here and there?
I did that once. Someone was coming I'm like, nope, not this time. But yeah, no, I think it was a little embarrassing because my first game in Dev last year, we played against Peterborough. I got sent off after 37 seconds.
Wow.
And it was really embarrassing because I even said, I was like, oh, like I'm going to go in, I'm going to keep my head calm, I'm going to play right. And it just didn't happen. It wasn't, as I said, it wasn't like a purposeful thing that I did at the time. Like I am going to, do something. But I think what I should have done in hindsight is like contain yourself and don't just go as if you were going back in the other leagues. Like it's differently. You can't just go to someone like that. You need to maintain a distance because you don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to ruin the experience as well. It is a sport. It's a competitive sport, but at the same time, I think in Dev, I could have been less.
I suppose it's a little bit difficult as well if you've been used to playing contact hockey or physical hockey most of your career. So I suppose it does take a little bit of time to readjust.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that was really funny is that in Canada, it wasn't a checking league, but I only found out like 2 years ago. I mean, no one told me. I went there and as I said, like I wasn't getting as much ice time as I'm getting now, but I was like, I can't believe it. Every time I'm on the ice, I'm getting a penalty and it's terrible. I don't understand. Maybe they just don't like the fact that I'm Italian, blah, blah, blah. And then like I discovered a few years ago, I was like, oh, it actually wasn't a checking league at all. It was just me. So, yeah. Sometimes I still need like some help with some rules because and this is going to be very embarrassing, but I want to come clean because I want people to know it's okay if you don't understand how icing works sometimes. Because one thing that I didn't know until once again this year is that if you're taking your sweet time skating to the puck after the other team's iced it, the ref won't call an icing. Mm-hmm. But I only discovered it this year because usually I just skate for it thinking like, oh, I can get it, I can go for it. Yeah, so this is something that I want people to understand. It's okay. It's okay. It was.
Forward makes a foot race out of it. They'll wave it on.
Yeah.
If it's a genuine sort of attempt at a pass, isn't it? They'll consider it to not be icing. But if it is just launched down the ice, I think because the rules changed not so long ago as well, wasn't there? You sort of I forget the actual official term for it, but they do view it differently to how they used to view it years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just. So it wasn't just.
No, we might let that one slide for you. Yeah.
Nice, thank you guys.
WNHL, that if you ice the puck, you then can't change line until the next break in play.
Yeah, we have that as well.
Yeah.
I love that rule. Anything to discourage it.
It's terrible. But one thing that, like, that rule really upset me, because what happened is, like, when I did get checked back, like, in Italy in 2010, is after I got up and I managed to get the ice, I very clumsy, I just whacked it. I was like, oh, I have to get off. I'm not on. Like, I'm not okay. I have to get off. And I iced it, and I was trying to change, and they wouldn't let me change. So I said, this is terrible. So I have, like, particular beef with that rule. But I also understand, because otherwise it would go absolutely crazy. People would just ice it left and right. Yeah, not on.
Now that you're playing again, you've had your break, and sounds definitely like you've got the hunger back for it. Are you watching it again? Are you watching NHL or PWHL?
Yeah, I started watching PWHL not at the beginning of last season, obviously, because I was, like, not watching hockey. But I really like the Sirens. Sarah Nurse is, like, my favorite player.
Yeah, great player.
She's amazing. Like, I love her attitude. She's just great. So I watched the Sirens, and also the NHL. My historical team were kind of struggling a little bit, but I will admit I'm a Penguins fan.
Oh yes, me too.
Oh, nice. High five. Oh, I didn't see that. Nice.
Yeah. You got a cracking hat on.
Well, yeah, that's just jumping on the bandwagon, but I've always been a Penguins fan.
Nice.
I've been to Pittsburgh several times, so it's my American hometown.
Wow. I have to get there at some point. I would love to watch the Penguins play when Crosby's still playing, because,
Greatest goal I've ever seen live was Crosby against Montreal a few years back. Carey Price is in goal. Crosby sort of backhands it to himself in mid-air with a backhand and then swipes at it mid-air into the back of the net. And I was right behind the goal when he scored it. And the best thing was my friend had gone to get some beers for me and him. So when he came back, he said, oh, what did I miss? Was it a good goal? I just looked at him and yeah, it wasn't bad. And then I showed him the replay on my phone. He was like, dude, you're getting the next beers.
No! Oh, my God. Oh, my, I feel bad for your friend. But
I felt bad for him, particularly when it's like $20 for a beer or whatever it is out there. So it's pretty expensive in the arenas. But he made me get the next round. He made sure of that.
Nice. So he paid $40 to miss.
To miss Crosby's greatest ever goal, yeah.
Oh, no.
Right. Do you think that the PWHL is having an effect on the young players in this country?
I think, well, maybe not in this country yet, but I think it's definitely going to have an effect in North American hockey. Well, already is, and it will continue. Because I knew so many girls from the time I went to school that had to stop after college hockey. And because there wasn't that much after. I think there was one league, I forgot what it's called now. That was like a semi-professional women's league.
Yes, there was, yeah.
And one of my schoolmates, her name is Ella Matteucci. She was such an insanely good player, and also like one of the nicest humans. And she played in that league as well. And I think that was semi-professional. So I think what's going to do, it's going to open so many doors, because like after college hockey or instead of college hockey, because not everyone wants to go to university or wants to go to college, and I think that's perfectly fine. You have this thing to aspire to. And someone was telling me that you can't aspire to be something you can't see. So that is just going to do wonders. And I think even here, like the ripples will be felt, maybe not immediately, but in the next few years. One thing I do love about UK women's hockey is the fact that there are so many teams and so many players. I mean, we have like elite, dub 1, dub 2, which is divided into, we have 3 leagues, 3 tiers of women's hockey in the UK. And then we have under 16s as well, which is incredible. The national team, they're really good. They're really good. I'm really, really hoping that they make it to the Olympics.
So am I.
Olympic qualifiers next week. So I feel like as as this kind of momentum continues, I'm really, really hoping, and I'm also expecting that there's going to be, an increase of women playing hockey. And I also think that it's good for teams like the Dynamics and other teams that have like development teams and like learn to play, to help people get involved with hockey like a little bit later on in life, because obviously it's ideal, right? For someone, if someone wants to play in the national team or at the highest levels, it's maybe it can work better for you if you start when you are younger and you are, maybe still in school. But at the same time, the fact that there's so many teams that give you the opportunity to learn, no matter how old you are or what other sports you've done before, like I think that's fantastic. And I don't know if it's unique to this country specifically, but I definitely know that in Italy it was not the case growing up. Maybe now it's better, but it was definitely not the case. I think weirdly, Inside Out 2 is going to do a lot for women's hockey.
Yeah. I put a little poll out on Twitter when me and my daughter and my wife went to see that, and I put a poll out saying, "Is this an ice hockey film?" I think.
Yeah, I took my daughter and my niece to see that, and they absolutely loved it. Now, my daughter's not into hockey, but my niece is, because she's part Swedish. But they both enjoyed it, I think, for different reasons. But like you say, it's an opportunity to maybe inspire young girls to think, well, look, that could be me. Definitely.
Because that's the thing that I want to say again, like, you can't aspire to be what you can't see. So there's got to be some people that, break the boundary and, like, start to be what other people can see. But like Jessica Campbell, the fact, we've got an assistant coach on the NHL bench for the first time that's a woman. That's amazing. I know quite a few women that this year have started their coaching courses. Maybe it's related, maybe it's just an encouragement. But I think that's amazing. I'm also hoping that becomes more of a thing in the next few years. And I feel like we're heading in that direction. There's obviously like always a little bit of
pushback from men.
Yes. Thank you for saying that for me. One very funny story is that when I was a kid growing up, I must have been like 10 or 11. I was playing in Italy, and this guy, I was the only girl in my team, and everyone hated me because I was the only girl in the team. And I hated them also. So it was mutual hatred, but we were winning lots of games, but we all hated each other. And one time this kid just is crying at me and is like, women shouldn't even play hockey. They shouldn't even be playing hockey. And I was like, okay, whatever. But the funniest, most serendipitous thing is that now his sister is one of the best players that Italy has ever seen. Like, honestly, she's amazing. And I mean, I don't care what he's been doing, but she has been absolutely killing it in the last few years. Since she was a kid. So I just find it's really funny. I find that there's going to be pushback, but it is a sport for everyone. And I feel like it should, I don't understand why it shouldn't be. Just because there is that level of physicality and aggression, it doesn't mean that it's not a feminine sport. It doesn't mean that it's not, that it's a manly sport. I feel like a lot of girls that when I was growing up and maybe even now are kind of like put back. They're like, oh, but it's such, it's like American football on ice. It's nothing like it. It can be like, I feel like hockey can be very elegant. Hockey can be very, like, it's super complex. It's literally, you're playing chess with 2 knives on your feet and doing figure skating and controlling a puck that is like super small and moving super fast on the ice. It's like the most complex sport. I find it so fascinating, and I really want people to see it for just the marvel that it is, rather than like, yeah, let's go kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
If you look back at the 70s and 80s, back when Canada did play that physical brand of hockey, dump and chase, Russia or the Soviet Union, they played a much more beautiful style of the game, puck possession and weaving patterns across the ice. They would hold on to a puck before making sure there was a perfect pass on. And so there was different styles to it. And as you said, it was almost balletic, wasn't it, in the approach that they take to the game.
Yeah, definitely. I recently went to Sweden I went to Sweden for something else, and I so happened to go alone and watch DIF. I'm not going to try and pronounce it.
Djurgården?
Djurgården, there we go. That you said it much better than me. On their opening games, first of all, the arena, they played at Hovet, and the type of support there was incredible. I didn't even know it was Hockey Allsvenskan. I thought it was the SHL at the beginning, and then I was like, wait, no, it's not. Incredible level of support, but the hockey was just so beautiful to watch. I think that's at the moment, my favorite style of hockey. It moved so fast, but until the last period when the wheels started to come off, it was just perfection. It was actually beautiful to see. And I feel like sometimes, like down in Gillingham, like we watch the Dynamos and especially the Mustangs, and we watch a certain type of hockey and we want to watch a certain type of hockey. But at the same time, just like the things that I saw in Hovet, it was just so beautiful that you can see that the game is like how you make it and how you play it. So yeah, amazing.
In the summer, just before they went back to training camp, I had Emma Molte from the Toronto Scepters on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
She was saying how as you said there, that it's not now perceived as this rough, tough, macho game. And these women are not only incredible hockey players, but the level of I can't even get my words out, athleticism that they have to have is absolutely astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ESPN was ranking hockey as the second hardest sport. They made like a matrix with a bunch of, sorry, this is my nerd that is coming out now, this is my nerd glasses. They made like an analysis using like, psychologists and doctors, trainers, like a bunch of experts. They put them on a panel and they got them to rank every sport or almost every sport according to the matrix. And I think the hardest sport in the world, allegedly, is boxing, which is fair enough. Hockey is second, and then everything else. Ice hockey is second, not field hockey, to be specific. Ice
hockey is the real hockey.
Yeah, exactly. We are doing it with literally knives on our feet as well. Like, it's incredible. So yeah, it is. I think the difficulty of hockey is what makes it magical. But I do worry sometimes that, well, not worry, but I realize that the difficulty of hockey is what sometimes puts older people off trying, because the learning curve is crazy. Like, let's be real. It's really hard. But, I feel like there's lots of ways, I think, to get into it if maybe there's people listening here that have never played and would like to play. So my suggestion is, like, if you find a rec team that lets you play, there's some hockey camps in the UK that are made for adults that are really, really good. I went in May in Hull to the ANS hockey camp. It was super good. And there was someone there that was just trying for their first time. And she went from like not, like barely skating to like being in a game after 2 days. And obviously, like, it was pretty tough, but I just found it so amazing that there was the opportunity to do something like that. So obviously hockey does have a learning curve, but where there's a will, there's a way, and there's lots of ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my last little point on the PWHL, when it launched this year, they launched it with a sculpture of a goalkeeper's mask that was made out of the sticks that were used last year. Just as dropping an exclusive, the artist that created that, Bryony Douglas, will be on Zero Pucks Given before Christmas.
Oh, nice. I saw that and I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, Bryony's going to come on and tell us all about it and the sort of inspiration behind it, how she got commissioned to do it, and the love that she received from a lot of the pros as well that play in that league. So that's going to be really exciting.
Nice. That's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we've gone on for nearly an hour now. This is going to be an absolutely incredible dual cast episode. As far as I know, we're making history in UK podcasts by dual casting this episode across 2 different platforms. Anna, I'm absolutely delighted that you chose to join us, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, sorry for sometimes I tend to ramble on, but at the end of the day, this is a podcast, not a singcast. So that's
exactly.
No, thank you.
Threaten a Frozen sing-along, but I think we're going to skip that.
Are we gonna let it go? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No, but thank you both. It's been like fantastic, and as I said, like I'm a fan of both podcasts, so I've been super excited to join you, and thank you for your questions. It's been a wonderful conversation. So thank you so much.
And Anna, grazie mille.
Oh, prego.
Before we let you go completely, we did have a couple of questions come in on the Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing quite as bad as you thought that there might be.
Okay, go for it.
There's a couple did come from your team. What does salad cream go on pasta?
I have no words. What they do to me? What do they do to me? No. Salad cream. No, it doesn't go on pasta. It doesn't go on pizza. It doesn't go in lasagna.
Scarlett Christie has asked, who's your favourite girl to play with on the Dynamics?
No, you can't ask me that. It's like trying to pick a favourite child.
That's why I only have one child.
Well, obviously it's Scarlett Christie. No, jokes aside, Scarlett, she's amazing, and I'm really, really proud of her. So if you're listening to this, I'm proud of everyone. But yeah, Scarlett, I'm proud of you. Yeah, good job. I'm going to get emotional.
She's also asked, how do you bake such good food?
Very good question. And I will answer. The fact that when I was younger, I used to bake kind of like winging it. But it turns out following a recipe, like to obsessive detail, will produce an equal result every time. Like baking is science. So yeah, sometimes a bit of nerdiness it works in baking.
But you're Italian, so it's in your blood anyway, isn't it?
But yeah, I tell you what, like I've actually struggled with that. But the reason why she asked this is the fact that almost every away game, I try and bake some cookies for the team. Just very sugary, very buttery cookies. So it's become a bit of a tradition. It's very tough because I have to make a lot of cookies, but it's worth it. They're nice.
Well, that's me and Ben coming to the next away game now, isn't it?
Well, we are going to be in Chelmsford on the 15th of December, so.
Sadly, I'll be with it's not sadly, I'm with the Women's Olympic team for that one, so I shall miss that. But in the new year, hopefully, I'll be along.
I could well make that, actually, the 15th of December.
Oh, that would be sick.
We need a taste test off you, Ben.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you're going to be there, Ben, there's going to be a Ben batch. Let me know. I'll be ready.
I like oat and raisin. By the way. There's not so much a question, but Theo Doritos, or Doritos, I may have mispronounced that. If it is Doritos, I'm a huge fan of them as well. No questions, just huge admiration for who you are and your attitude towards life.
Oh, bless.
Is that a friend, is it?
Grazie, Theo. She's my aunt, my cousin, basically.
Which one?
Well, she's both. We've grown up as cousins, but she's technically my step-aunt. She's the same age as me, but we've grown up as like cousins. Like, yeah, grazie, Theo. It's amazing.
Right, then I'm pretty sure it's Lou that runs the Invicta Dynamic Socials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no getting out of this question. Who's the best person at the Dynamics?
Why do they ask me these questions where I have to pick favoritism? Okay, it's Lou. Lou, it's you.
Well, that answer may just shock her into labour.
No, I was asking her. I was like, what do you think is going to happen first? The Spotify Wrapped dropping or the baby?
I think Spotify just dropped today, isn't it?
Yeah, it did. And you get to see the stats for the podcast as well. You got the...
I haven't had a proper look into it yet, I'm afraid. But, I think, anyone who's got Spotify Wrapped and I appear anywhere in the top 5, or if indeed Adam appears anywhere in the top 5, absolutely share that out and tag us because we love seeing all that. It makes it very worthwhile.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
So, Loic, that is all we've got for you, Anna. We will let you go. Thank you so much for giving us well over an hour of your time this evening. Please have a wonderful rest of the season with the Dynamics. We will definitely be catching up at some point throughout the season, and have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything, and also have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Wow, what a guest for the first DUALCAST, Adam. That was fantastic, wasn't it, mate?
Really was. It's always great when you get someone on who can you can set her up with a question and just let her speak like that. And Anna was a great speaker. She had some fascinating stories as well from, life both in Canada and in Italy. I mean, it's not often that we hear the women's side of the game in Italy, is it? So that was quite a nice insight, I thought.
Yeah, it was. I mean, in all honesty, I think after that, there's going to be calls for us to have our own podcast.
I think so. I think that's something the Dynamics have to pursue with her. Yeah,
incredible talker. And as you say, to hear how that story about having the head injury, having the brain tumour, that is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one time I suppose you want a head injury, isn't it, to help her discover what was an underlying problem which she didn't know she had. I mean, that's quite incredible, really. But thankfully, it worked out. That was fate taking a hand, which led her to get that operation and saved her life. And I wasn't expecting that story, to be honest, when she started off saying that.
I'd purposely, to be perfectly honest, I'd not done too much research about her, just because Lou had told me what an incredible person she is and the sort of the hunger she has for the game and the attitude she has towards life. I thought Lou's kind of setting me up that she knows this is going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do too much research, and I'll have the sort of, because I think it's so much better when we have that surprise sort of waft over us.
Definitely, yeah. It's more natural, isn't it?
Yeah, massively so. It was similar to when Nick Rothwell joined me on ZPG, that I'd researched Nick's playing career and his television career, but I had no idea about his alcohol problems.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like the shock on my face was real because I had no idea.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like you say, it's just so much better for the show, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll this will be coming out, lifting the iron curtain ever so slightly. This is Wednesday. This will be coming out on Friday. And then we'll have another episode of ZPG Ice Maidens coming this weekend, won't we?
We will indeed, yeah. I'll best get cracking with that in the next couple of days. But yeah, there will be something out there.
Excellent stuff. It's honestly, mate, from when we spoke about getting you on board with the ZPG network and everything, the effort that you put in is just incredible. The sound quality and everything that goes into them podcast episodes is so good. In fact, I've even stolen a little bit of it. I've stolen a little audio interlude.
I'll steal what you want. I mean, obviously, I couldn't have done this without your help, Ben. So thanks for that. It's just great working with you, and we're getting some good listeners, good numbers. And when people stop me at the rinks and say, "Hey, I've checked out what you've been putting," that's what it's about, isn't it? Ultimately, people telling you that they are listening to it every week. So it's proves that there was a need for it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I know not the last episode, I think it was the one before, that you also had a little bit of help from Andrew Day, who's also helped us out with the WNIHL. He's doing some writing for Banners on the Wall, and as Anthony says, and as I've always said, this is not competition. This is everyone is here for the greater good.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of just been me that started it initially a couple of years ago with the website. But yeah, the more people that can get involved, the better, because it makes mine and your job a lot easier, doesn't it? Because you're not doing as much of a workload yourself. And Andrew's doing some great stuff. Obviously, I'm based in the north, he's based in the south, so he can capture some games and interviews which normally I wouldn't be able to get. So he's a great guy as well. I've spoke to him a few times at rinks, and I'm sure we'll see each other again this season. But no, it's great that the likes of Andrew can do that, and there's one or two others. If you want to get involved, please do, because as much exposure we can give to the sport, the better, really.
Yeah, and the teams themselves are doing a fantastic job sort of streaming their own games, all for free on YouTube as well, and their Facebook pages, which is where we can find Ice Maidens when you're doing Whitley Bay or wherever you may happen to be one weekend.
Yeah.
And commentate the games live on Facebook.
That's right. I think mainly now with the Beacons, we do everything through their official club YouTube channel. But if you check out their Facebook page for more details, but pretty much everything goes on the YouTube channel now. If I'm doing non-club games and streams, then it will be on Ice Maidens. But hoping in the new year to get to a few more rinks a little bit further afield. So yeah, watch your space, because I'm hoping to cover a lot more games in the new year, and might even squeeze in a trip to Chelmsford to see you, Ben.
Would be very, very nice indeed. So next week, are you down at Sheffield as a fan, or are you working?
I'm commentating, so I'm part of the host broadcast team, which is great, working with Louise Adams, who's GB International, a good friend of mine as well, but sadly she's injured at the minute, otherwise she would have been in the squad. So she'll be joining me on commentary, and the first GB game starts next Thursday at 4 p.m. So if you can't make it in person to Sheffield, then please do tune in and watch the streams. All 3 GB games will be available to watch online.
Excellent. Are they pay-per-view or are they YouTube?
I don't actually know the finer details just yet, but I'm sure GB Ice Hockey will be, or IHG UK will be posting something in due course in the next few days. So yeah, just watch this space. You'll see an announcement officially coming out soon.
It's obviously always difficult to do when you're commentating. I tend to not predict when I'm going to be commentating. Do you think they're going to do it?
You know what? Yes. I'm going to be positive and say yes. Latvia will be an interesting one. We know them well because they've been in our World Championship pool for the last few years. Quite close results, but I think on home ice, I fancy us to beat them. Spain's from the league below. We actually beat them on their home ice to earn promotion to Division 1B, which we're in now. So again, we should win that one. The toughest one will be the last game against the Netherlands because they're from a higher league. That will be the toughest challenge. But like I say, I think given that we are on home ice, we're hoping to get a lot of support. Captain Jody Alderson-Smith's in fantastic form, and that Vixens line that have put up so many points is going to be one of the main features of that GB team. So, look, yes, we're going to be wary of the Netherlands, but also I think the Netherlands should be worried about us because we're a good team and we've got players who can punish teams. And win this, they go to the next qualifying stage. You never know what might happen.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much to everybody for joining us on this dual cast on ZPG Ice Maidens and Zero Pucks Given. It'll be available Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts, as are both of those podcasts. So check out all the episodes that you may have missed. And don't forget to follow it on all the social media channels. ZPG Ice Maidens on Instagram and Twitter. Ice Maidens, the voice of the UK women's ice hockey, on Facebook. And then Zero Pucks Given on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, and Threads. I knew there was one more I was forgetting.
Yeah, just about every platform you can think of.
Yeah, I have nothing else in my life, really. Adam, thank you so much, man. I'll see you soon.
Pleasure as always, Ben. Cheers.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Security teams face a barrage of more. More security tools create more complexity. More devices need protection. More specialized focus areas create more silos. The security landscape is changing fast. How can security operations transform to meet the current threats? Cortex by Palo Alto Networks consolidates SecOps tools into an integrated platform and helps organizations stop threats at scale with AI, automation, and analytics. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com/Cortex.